Yipee-Ki-Yay, Mr. Falcon.
Bonus content.
Sad news today. When we're recording this, Roberta Flack died.
I read that.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. More like killing me slowly. No, I'm That's terrible.
That was terrible. Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
It was right there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a shame. She was old as shit, though. Good for her.
She was a hell of a singer. That song's incredible.
First time ever I saw your face. I think that's a cover, isn't it?
What, Killing Me Softly?
No, the first time I ever saw your face. Her other super popular song.
Oh. I don't know that one.
You don't know that one? What the fuck? What the fuck?
Maybe I probably do.
What the fuck, Tom?
I just can't place it at the moment. Yeah, I know. I'm terrible.
Yeah. All right. Well, something happened this week. It's a rare occurrence for a movie nerd of my age.
What?
Two things happened. I saw a movie from the 80s that I've never seen before that was awesome. All right? Now, that alone is always cool. Okay? But I also bought this movie as a DVD because it was the only way I could find it after reading a little bit about it. And it looks amazing on my 4K player.
Okay.
And I got it for $8.
And you bought this sight unseen.
Sight unseen, never heard of it before. It was mentioned in something, and I looked it up and saw the cast, and I was like, fuck it. I've never heard of it or seen it. It's probably terrible, but let's try it. And it turned out to be pretty fucking cool, I gotta say. It's called Shoot to Kill.
Shoot to Kill.
Yeah, super unremarkable title, right?
It sounds like one of those 3-word Steven Seagal movies we talked about.
I know. And it's from that era when they were naming action movies like that. It's from 88. All right? But it's got a weird cast. It's got Sydney Poitier.
Oh.
Is one of the leads.
No, sir, they call me Mr. Tibbs.
This was apparently the first movie he'd done in 11 years. He came out of like a mini retirement to do this movie. Tom Berenger is the other lead. So
the sniper?
Yeah. 1988 Tom Berenger. So I guess, closer to Platoon Tom Berenger. He was pretty fucking young. Kirstie Alley.
Okay.
Right. Clancy Brown.
Clancy Brown. Yeah, I know Clancy Brown.
We know Clancy Brown. Andrew Robinson. Do you know him? He was one of his best known roles is he was the villain in Dirty Harry, the original, but you probably know him from the original Hellraiser.
Yep.
He's the father from the original Hellraiser, right? Okay. And then a bunch of character actors. You got Richard Mauser, I guess Mazer. All these dudes where you know their faces, right? Frederick Coffin too. He's a big lug with like an ape-looking face. He was actually in one of those Seagal movies. He was in Hard to Kill. That one from I think it was like 1990. The one with Kelly LeBrock in it. He was his like best friend who raised his kid while he was in a coma. But he was in all kinds of shit. He was the cop in Wayne's World.
Okay.
You remember that with the nose and the big giant upper lip? Yeah, that was him. And he played a bad guy in a bunch of stuff too, right? So this movie, the setup is kind of like, I can't decide if it's cliche or not because so many movies did this, but I have a feeling a lot of them did it later. But I don't want to give too much away. I do kind of want you to watch it, but I don't know how you're going to find it because I had to buy it on disc. So
you're gonna loan it to me one day, I guess.
But I'm going to ruin this for everyone. That's fine. All right.
Yeah, that's fine.
So it starts off as like a cop movie, and there's like a kidnapped jewelry store owner his wife is being held by a guy and he wants him to like give him all these diamonds from his jewelry store.
Give me that money.
And the cops set up like a sting to trade her for the diamonds, and they fuck it all up. And he ends up killing the lady and running off with the diamonds, right? Sydney Poitier is the cop. Dude gets away. Grr, vengeance, right? Well,
right.
You never see the bad guy through this whole thing. And you only hear him on the phone.
Wearing a mask or something?
You just never see his face. And when he's on the phone, he's only like whispers, right? So he ends up... they don't really explain how he finds it, but he ends up at like this trailhead where people go to meet guides to go into the mountains fly fishing in Oregon. And he shows up, and this other guy's like, hey, I guess we're the first ones here. And then you never see that dude again. So he kills that guy, takes all his clothes and pretends to be him, and goes on this fly fishing trip as a way to get into the mountains toward Canada, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, Kirstie Alley is the guide. She's got 5 dudes with her, right? But you don't know, the audience doesn't know who the bad guy is.
You don't know which one's the robber.
The killer. She doesn't know. Neat. And Tom Berenger is her boyfriend who runs the guide service with her. They find the dead body. Poitier shows up. They're like, oh, we're pretty sure this is our guy. He's like, he's with my girlfriend. So he's like, I'm going to the mountains to find this fucker. And Sydney's like, you're not going without me. I'm an FBI agent, raw. And tags along with him. So it's like a race against time thing. And meanwhile, these guys are just tromping through the mountains and hanging out by campfire. And you know one of them's a fucking killer. And you're trying to figure out who.
Even when they get there, yeah, no one knows which one it is.
And the great thing about it, too, neat. Is even viewed out of context, that's kind of cool, right? But in context, if you the guys they got to play the fishermen were all character actors who either played good guys or bad guys at the time. So it really would have been tough for the audience to figure it out. There was none of them were more famous than the other. And the audience had probably seen, all but one of them had seen all of them as villains at one time or another, or cops even, you know? So it must have been they put a lot of effort into the surprise. And it was really fun, you know, having never seen it before. Poitier and Berenger actually have like a really good chemistry. They're funny. Sydney got jokes, man. Like he was really funny. Like he goes up against a grizzly bear and like scares it off.
Sydney Poitier fights a
grizzly bear. And like I looked in the credits and I couldn't find it, but I'm pretty sure it was Bart the Bear.
Bart the Bear.
The one from The Edge and from Great Outdoors.
The one they like throw the marshmallows at.
Oh, I don't know. In what?
I had heard something about like these bear trainers, in order to get it to stand up and roar at the camera, they just throw it marshmallows.
Oh, I don't know.
It catches them.
There's just one famous trained grizzly bear or brown bear that was in like all those movies. He was in The Edge, remember, with Anthony Hopkins and Alec Baldwin?
Yeah.
And The Great Outdoors, you know?
And there's one that kills Brad Pitt at the end of
Same bear.
Legends of the Fall.
Same bear. That was Bart the Bear.
I read the guy that like is in the frame. It's not Brad Pitt. It's the bear trainer.
Oh yeah,
wearing like a beard, and he's stabbing it with a hot dog.
I love that movie, dude.
Because like it's all blurry. You can't really tell. It looks enough like a knife that you can imagine that it is.
Hey man,
he's pretending to stab it to death with a hot dog.
Well, they did that blurry like final shot, and that's how they freeze frame the end of the movie, and it looked pretty good for a hot dog. That's neat. I didn't know that. I never heard the hot dog bit. Well, anyway, like this movie starts off in like an urban area with like hard-boiled crime shit. It turns into like a half-assed survival movie in the wilderness, right? They filmed it in the same wilderness where they filmed First Blood. In fact, they used the same cliff face from First Blood.
Did you look it up or did you recognize it?
It looked mad familiar. Yeah, I was like, wait, I know this. I know this from somewhere. I know that rock. And then by the end, it goes back to being into a city. They end up back in the city. And I got to tell you, man, when you find out who the bad guy is, he just straight up kills all the other dudes on the trip, like inside of a minute. And it's not some like kung fu crazy shit. It's just, it really emphasizes why you really, really shouldn't go into the wilderness with people you don't trust. Because it's really easy to push a motherfucker off a cliff. Like, it's super easy to push someone off a cliff. It just really is when they're not expecting it. And, nah, man, it's just hardcore and fucking awesome. And, like, it has some third act problems. It gets a little weird, and it's a little too slow. It clocks in at an hour and 50 minutes. And I feel like if it had been more like in the neighborhood of an hour 35, it might have been a bit tighter. Like, they could have tightened up the third act. And there were a couple beats that it was missing for a story like this. But, man, what a surprise. What a surprise. Lenny watched it with me. She really liked it.
Cool.
Yeah. She's pretty picky about movies like that. But, you know, and I don't want to ruin who the bad guy is, but he's one of our favorite actors, and she really likes him. And
Dino Velvet?
It was Dino Velvet. It was the incomparable Peter Stormare. He just, woo, ah.
It was me.
It was me, Dino Velvet. So
okay. So you haven't told me the name of the actor that plays the bad guy yet.
Not yet. No.
Okay.
I'll save it.
Keep. Save that one. Oh, that sounds cool, man. I'll watch that.
And there's some really cool action scenes. Not like shootout scenes, but there's some hanging on by ropes off cliff scenes and some climbing scenes. And surprisingly enough, for a movie that it wasn't totally focused on it, they did a really good job with the climbing scenes.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, Tom Berenger looks like he really was up somewhere pretty fucking high for a few of them, and they did some wide shots with a real climber doing it. I mean, just for having it be a brief interlude, they really spent some time and money on it.
Oh, now I gotta watch it. I love climbing.
Yeah, it's not a lot. But it's enough to be cool.
And this climbing.
Yeah, it's neat. It's fun. That's right. You did the rock climbing shit for a while, right? I
loved it. It was my favorite thing in the world for 5 years.
5 years. What happened?
Kids.
They ruin everything, man.
Two of them.
So that was the one. I had two great things.
That sounds awesome.
I had a super nostalgic movie that I watched a lot when I was a kid. I got to see it again, and I haven't seen it in, God, dude, I don't know, 25, maybe more. What
was that?
Do you remember a Mel Gibson movie from the 90s called Forever Young?
I remember being aware of that movie. I've never seen it, but I knew it was a movie he was in.
Yeah.
Heard of it. I know nothing beyond the fact that Mel Gibson's in it.
So, like, in the early 90s, before he did Braveheart and decided to direct movies, he went through this period post-Lethal Weapon, like before Lethal Weapon 3. Like, I don't know, they weren't rom-coms. They were, like, more family-oriented films.
Bird on a Wire?
That was a little earlier, but yeah, once he got into the 90s and he cut his hair and shit, he did, like, I don't know what you call them. They're like, it's Robert Zemeckis movies, kind of, 90s, like, so they're made for grown-ups, but they're good for the whole family kind of movies, Disney live-action kind of movies.
So, like, not a rom-com.
No. Like, this one's
drama?
weird. Like, this one's weird. Like, it's a drama, but it's a little sci-fi. But it's also, like, a family film because there's, a mom and kids, and the plot's kind of soft, and nobody dies, and you know what I mean? The stakes aren't super high, and there's no cussing. They're PG, super hard PG rating, not PG-13. But this was one they showed on TV a lot when we were younger. And get this shit, right? It starts in 1939, right on the cusp of World War II. Gibson plays a test pilot for the Army Air Corps before there's an Air Force. And George Wendt plays his buddy, who is a Air Force scientist, Army scientist, whatever. You know George Wendt. Norm.
Yeah. Cheers.
Yeah. And
so you watched the movie with Kirstie Alley, and then with George Wendt.
Yeah, I know. I put it together later, and I was really upset about it. So, he's a test pilot. He's going to marry this girl. They're in love, super in love. She walks out of a diner to go get cigarettes or something, gets hit by a truck. She's in a coma. Shit. He's super depressed.
You said no one dies. Oh, she's in a coma.
Listen. She's in a coma. He's super depressed. George Wendt, the science project he's been working on, has been a cryogenic chamber to freeze a dude, right? And wake him up. That's what he's been working on. So he volunteers to be frozen for a year so that he doesn't have to be there when she dies. Assuming she's going to die because everyone told her she's not coming out of the coma. Because 1939, like, the fuck do they know? So he does. He freezes him. Flash forward to 1992.
Oh, they freeze him for
50-something years. Yeah. His capsule is in a storeroom, an old warehouse that they're liquidating everything inside. And Elijah Wood is in this. And he's the main kid. And I forget how he is on the base. His mom is like a nurse or something who works on the base. And it's like a low security area, you know? It's just like storage shit. So they're roaming around this warehouse that's getting torn open. And they find the capsule, accidentally turn it off or on or whatever, and they wake him up. And he doesn't like wake up right away. He like some reflex thing, he grabs the kid's jacket and like holds on to it for a little while, and the kids run off. They're scared.
Yeah, he's blind for a couple minutes because of the carbonite sickness.
I assume. One can only assume, right? Yeah. But he wakes up, the kid's got like a, I'm Bobby Smith, I live at whatever Green Tree Road label on it. So he goes and finds him, and it's almost like a time travel movie from then on. Because for him, it is time travel, so you're seeing it all through his eyes, of course. And they don't get real cheesy with it. It's got a good tone. You know what I mean? They don't get too jokey. And they do a few things to contrast how different he is and how just social norms have changed in that time period. Jamie Lee Curtis is Elijah Wood's mom. And she's a single mother. And there's this one scene where, like, her ex-boyfriend shows up. He's, like, living up in the treehouse. Elijah Wood has him set up in the treehouse and is, like, sneaking him juice boxes and shit for his first night in the future, right? And her ex-boyfriend shows up and starts pushing her around, and he sees it through the window.
Oh, no.
And it's so funny. He goes into the kitchen, and he squares up with him, but he, like, throws up the old school boxer stance. And the ex-boyfriend's like this like mulleted piece of shit, and he like laughs at him, and he just like boxes the Christ out of this guy, like knocks him down like 3 times until the dude just like gets up and just walks out the front door.
Fucks him up, huh?
He just knocks him down just solidly like a dog 3 times. I don't know. It's very satisfying, and the coolest thing about it is that I really liked is the whole drive of his character is that he's super in love with the woman he left behind, who he left in a coma, right? Never do they even come close to him and Jamie Lee Curtis like having a thing. It never gets romantic at all. It's extremely platonic, but there is a cool relationship between him and the kid. He like puts. I forget what plane he was modeling it after, but he puts a bunch of controls in the treehouse, like fake controls, and like kind of teaches him. Yeah, makes it like a cockpit and kind of teaches him basics of flying, just fucking around. But
Like father figure type of relationship.
yeah. But then there's a catch.
Oh.
He has a episode, and when the episode Mel Gibson, and when the episode is over, he looks quite a bit older, and it turns out he's starting to rapidly age, and like catch up to his biological age. And he tries to find his old friend. That's what he's been doing this whole time. He's trying to find his old friend who George went. He's dead. Find his daughter. She kind of points him in a direction, and guess what? He finds out Helen
Is still alive.
is alive. She had gotten married, had kids, husband died, but she is still alive. So my man steals a vintage military plane that he knows how to fly from the air base and takes off to go see her before he dies. Doesn't know. He thinks he might be dying. He's not sure. So he goes off to see her. And Elijah Wood, of course, stows away in the plane. And he has like a aging fit when they're flying. And Elijah Wood
Aging fit?
Yeah, and Elijah Wood, he's like 10 in this. He has to like help him land the plane.
But he knows how because he's familiar with the controls.
Right. It's one of those kind of movies. And they land it safely, and he meets the chick, and he doesn't die by the end of the movie, so you can pretend he stopped like aging at 82, and got to hang out with her for a while. But I don't know, man. There's something real. It's a bit saccharine, but there's
Sounds very wholesome.
Yeah, it is. But there's something about that early '90s tone as just really comforting, and it was really good to see it again. They don't. I hate to say it, but they don't make movies like that anymore.
They don't make them like they used to.
And I didn't like them. Like I liked this when I was little because I think it was kind of cool, like from the Elijah Wood perspective. You
were just waiting for a cryogenically frozen man to wander into your backyard one day, and it never happened.
I suppose. I think.
Sorry, Dave.
To be serious, though, I think it comes from like when I was at that age, I started getting into X-Files, and anything vaguely supernatural like that or science supernatural like that, I was like super into it. Just because it had that layer, that kind of hooked me, And it's a little dark, it's an Isaac Asimov kind of setup. He's the rapid aging thing. It's pretty sad to see. I don't know, man. It was great to find it. And I also found that cheap on DVD and found out that it was never put on Blu-ray. And the only way you can find it in widescreen is on fucking Laserdisc, so you can't.
Laserdisc?
Yeah.
Do you have a Laserdisc player?
Fuck no, man. No. They're, obviously they're really expensive because all you can get is vintage. And
oh, yeah. They don't, like, make them.
You kind of need to know how to work on them at this point, from what I understand. And it's just a novelty, I mean, there's so few titles that you'll only find on Laserdisc. You got to be. I'm not there. I'm not at that level, man. I remember a teacher we had in high school had a Laserdisc.
I do too,
Mr. Waters.
Oh well, they must have had one at the school because I had a different teacher. Mr. Haran used to use one.
Did he? I didn't know. I remember him.
Yeah, we all freaked when he pulled out the laser disc. We're like, what the hell is that thing?
Yeah, Mr. Waters had one. He used to talk about it. He used to collect them, the laser discs.
Oh, yeah, there was one in the school.
I didn't know that. That's wild.
Yeah, Mr. Haran pulled out a laser disc in the middle of science class one day, and we all lost our minds.
Mr. Waters passed not too long ago.
I heard about that.
Yeah, rest in peace, Mr. Waters. You were awesome. I saw someone was selling or had just bought one of the, apparently for a very brief time, they made players that were combo Laserdisc DVD players. And like a smaller shelf that came out that you could put a DVD in. It was like 2 years where the two formats were around at the same time. Whatever. But hey, yeah, this was neat. $8 and $8. I had two really cool vintage movie experiences.
Yeah, new to you. a 40-year-old surprise, and an old favorite. I call that a win.
Yeah, man. You got to borrow Shoot to Kill. It was really cool. And if anybody comes across it out there, it's not on any of the streaming services when I checked, but sometimes that changes. But if you see it, pick it up.
I'll either borrow it or just come over and watch it one day.
There might be a way to copy it, but the FBI doesn't know that.
Ooh, that's not a victimless crime, Dave.
I don't know, man. I hear they're getting rid of the FBI, so eat a dick. Eat a dick, F. Eat a dick, fed G-men. Yeah, I'll get Mel Gibson to come box your face.
I will fucking suck your nose.
Suck your nose with a sock full of pennies.